Hi crafters, it's Annie from Vintage Lace Journal and I'm here today to create a folio, and this is a multi-pocket folio and I've not made one yet. I've had a go at like prototype and I've done some bits for it, but I saw a picture on Pinterest and I'll link the video below to the one I found on YouTube. However, my measurements are completely different because obviously the one on YouTube was for making a card, or I'm making it as kind of like a mini journal, kind of travel journal with pockets and things. So yeah, slightly different, but the basis of the theme is there, so I'll link that lady's video as well. Now I'm starting mine with a piece of A3 white card. Okay, you can use smaller card, it's just that I've got this at the moment I want to use up, so that's why I've got A3 card. You can use A4 card, that's absolutely fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to cut your card, extend that out and just come up a little bit. So I'm going to make a cut, and these first pieces here are going to be 7 inches long. So 7 inches. So that bit there across is 7 inches, and one more piece at 7 inches. Now keep this bit, do not throw it away. You will be using this in a little while to create part of your folio. Okay, then these parts I'm going to now cut to 11 inches. So they're going to be 7 inches by 11 inches. So pop that back in. I'm going to do them separately just because of my blade. And that one is 11 inches. Now while I'm here, I'm also going to cut that strip we had left over. That is also going to be 11 inches. There we go. Let's put that to the side. So now we're going to start to score our pieces of paper. I'm using the inch side of my scoreboard, and I'm going to score both pieces at 5 and 6 inches. So have your long 11-inch piece across the top, butt it up against the side of your scoreboard and score at 5 inches and 6 inches. And what this does is it gives us this 1-inch spine in the middle. Now because I've scored on that side, I'm going to turn it over and burnish on the other side. So line up your sides there and then turn, line up and just do the other side. Okay, so that's piece number 1, and I'm going to do exactly the same on piece number 2. So butt up against the edge, 11-inch side at the top, and score at 5 and 6 inches. Again, because I've scored this side, turn it over. Go. And then just burnish both those creases because this gives up that lovely spine on here. There we go. Now on this piece, which should measure 2.5 inches in width, if I remember rightly, yep, 2.5. So on this part, I'm going to score that at, let me just try and remember now. I'm going to cut at score at 4.5, so that's in the middle because obviously it's 11 centimeters. So score at 5.5, and then I'm going to score at 2 and 6/8, and then score 8 and 2/8. So that's basically scored it in half and then scored those in half again. Now when you come to fold this, I'm going to fold outwards on one, again making sure they line up, and I'm going to fold those bits down because it's going to create kind of like a concertina for the middle of our folio. And again making sure those edges line up, and you're left with this kind of like W shape. Okay, so I'm going to put that to just one side for the moment. So that's all my scoring done for now. Pop my scoring board away. one of these pieces of card is going to stay exactly as it is. That's going to be your base layer for your folio. And on the second piece, you are going to score and cut. Sorry, I'm not going to score. I'm just going to cut down the front. Okay. So what we need to do is on the right hand side over here, let's bring my camera down. We're going to measure from the bottom, and I'm going to measure up 2.5 inches and just pop a little pencil mark. So 2.5, and just on the side there, pop a little pencil mark. And I'm going to do exactly the same on this side as well. I'm just going to turn it around so it's easy for me to measure. So 2.5. There we go. Just measure twice, remember? So both sides here I've now got a little 2.5 inch mark. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this in my trimmer, and I'm going to trim from the fold here, so that's my right hand score line, down to this mark here. Okay, so it's going to be a diagonal cut. So if I pop this in my trimmer, I'm going to put the top of my score line in there, and where I've marked that little 2.5 inches in there, and I'm going to pull that down to create a diagonal cut. Now make sure you take time to line this up. So once you're happy with that, cut down, and it removes this triangle piece, and you'll end up with this kind of score mark cut along here. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side, but this time I'm going to go from this mark here down to my mark there. So again, pop it in my trimmer, line that up, take time to really make sure it's in the right place, and then cut that off there. You'll end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so I'm going to pop that just to one side. Now what you'll eventually do is you'll pop that one on top of this one. Okay, and you'll glue that down to make your pockets in here. And then our piece that we scored will be stuck on there to create this kind of effect. Okay, so it's all coming together quite nicely. Excuse me. So I'm going to put these pieces out of the way for now. What I've decided to do for mine, and you don't have to do this, again, like I always say on every video I make this your own. I've decided to use some of this craft card as a backing, because this is not thick paper card. It's not really thin sort of card, but it needs a bit of stability, because I'm going to be using it for like a journal kind of thing. So I've got just some craft card. This is recycled craft card, and I've just done a 1/2 inch border around there. So I'm going to mat and layer. Okay, so this one is going to measure, let me just have a little look. So this now measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, because that's obviously just taken that little 1/2 inch off. So when you take off 1/2 inch off the top and 1/2 inch off the bottom, you then move in, and it gives you a 1/4 inch border around the side. So I've got that for that side and that for that side. And then I'm also going to put a piece in the middle, and that measures 7/8 by 6 7/8. And I have already cut mine there, and that's going to go down my spine in the middle. So I'm just going to glue these on. So I can just do the next part and wait for this glue to dry. This craft card is recycled, and it does leave this kind of like fraying sometimes. I don't know if it's my blade or not, or whether it's just the type of card it is. Because obviously on the back you can see that's just not great, but obviously this side is fine to use this craft card. So lots of glue on those edges, because obviously they're the parts that will lift. And I'm using tacky glue again. Love this tacky glue. There we go. And good, because it's wet glue, it gives you that little bit of wiggle room. I'm happy with that. Give that a real good push down. Really taking care to make sure those edges have taken and stuck down. Okay, and I've got my spine in the middle. And again, lots of glue on the outside edges. So popping that in. And I have made it slightly longer than this part. And again, really making sure that's taken well. And then last part on the other side. And this gives your folio that stability, because obviously we'll decorate the front as well. So lots of glue down those edges. Little wiggle room, make sure it's all even. And then give that a real good push down. So that's the base of our folio done. The next thing I'm going to do is obviously decorate with pattern papers, but for now I'm just going to let that dry. Really make sure that's stuck down. Just going to pop that to one side. So I'm going to bring in my centre part now. So again, I'm going to line this with the Kraft card. Now to do this, you cut the same piece of card. So again, I'm going to cut the same size card, which was 4 3/4. I will put the measurements below, by 6 3/4. Now to make this fit in here, what you have to do is on your card, measure just half an inch, not half an inch, ignore me, a quarter of an inch difference. So obviously if you can see here, if I put those corners together, just there, that is literally a quarter of an inch. Okay. So if I just show you on this side, so I'm going to line that up. So this part is 2 1/2. So I'm going to measure this at 2 1/4 and just pop my little line there. So that's a quarter of an inch less than there. And at the top bit here, I'm going to make that a quarter of an inch mark here. And then what you have to do again is like we did with the back piece, pop that into your trimmer and line up those marks you've just made. So my bottom mark there, my top mark there. Happy with that? And that will give you your border around the edge again. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue these ones in. So I did one already. Again, making sure that glue comes out. That's that fast tack glue. And obviously really make sure that these edges, especially on these ones, because these are going to be your pockets. There we go. So making sure you've got that border the same all the way around the edge. And then glue the other side the same. So these are nice pockets to kind of keep tags in, or if you're going to make this kind of like a memory book, you could put stubs, photographs, little journal cards, little memories. There we go. So one thing I just need to do is just where I've made those pencil marks, if you can see any pencil marks, don't forget to give those a little rub out. Okay, I haven't actually done a spine for this one, so this is the one for the outside, which I've pre-done. So it's the same size as the one for the back of the spine, because we haven't cut the spine part, we've just cut these edge parts. So this is 7/8 across by 6 7/8 long. There we go. Just realised in your theory on this one you don't actually need to put that on there. It's too late, I've used tacky glue, but that's actually going to be covered up. I suppose it will strengthen the spine. I know now why I've cut two, because one was for the outside. Never mind. A nice strengthened spine. Okay, so there we have our two pieces ready to go. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to decorate these two, and I am using this pad from Consortium Crafts. Now I bought this online. We've got an online craft shop called Kraft UK. I'll link their shop below. This is fantastic. I linked this on one of my videos before and it actually sold out, so I know they haven't actually got any of these at the moment. It's 12 by 12 paper, and I think it was something like £8.99, but it's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely full of just all those kind of like oldie worldy kind of papers you have. It's called Vintage Emporium. So I will put the link below, but I know they haven't actually got any in stock at the moment, but that's obviously Kraft Consortium. So I've chosen this stamp background and a map background. So the stamp background is going to go on the back and the map is going to go on the front, because I thought I'd have darker at the back and lighter at the front. Okay, so your pattern card, and again I'm going to cut 4 pieces of the same size, and then we're just going to cut those angle bits again. So I need 2 parts. This one is going to be 4.5 inches. So 4.5. Now remember, if you're using directional paper, which this is, you want it to be this way up, because this is your short length, which will go on this part here. That's not right. That's because I haven't cut it right. Too busy yakking. Try that again. So 4.5 inches. By 6.5. There you go. And I've just cut that, and I haven't left myself enough. I'm just going to have to tear another piece out. Hopefully I've got another piece of this left. See, that's what you get for not concentrating. So 4.5 by 6.5. Okay, so that's my 2 backgrounds on there. And as you can see, with the measurements I'm giving you, it gives you that just kind of little mat and layer all the way across there. So that's my back 2 pieces. I'm not going to cover this piece, because as we've just found out, it's now going to be covered up by something else. Okay, so just put that to one side. So again, I'm going to cut my next piece at 4.5. By 6.5. By 6.5. I've gone quiet now because I'm concentrating. Okay. So, like we did before, those 2 will just be stuck on the back. That's nice and simple. But with these 2, obviously, I'm going to come in and we are going to want to trim this down a little bit again. So, bring that over. Now, because this one was 2.25, we just want to measure this at 2. We're taking just that 1/4 inch again. So bring in my ruler and just measure that at 2 inches, and just put that little mark in there. And then again at the top, just line up and measure that 1/4 inch. Okay, so I've got 1/4 inch marked off here, and I went up to 2 inches and marked us down there. So that's that side. Lost my other piece of paper now. Where's that gone? Is that one? Yes, it is. Put it away. And on this one, exactly the same. So we're going to measure up 2 inches. And then just take down 1/4 inch on that top part there. So bring them back in my trimmer. Again, line these 2 points up and then cut accordingly. So there and there. This is a trouble to try and find the marks now. I should have done it on the other side. There we go. I'm just making sure that's lined up. And cut. And on this side, it's obviously going the opposite way. Just making sure where that mark is. There's that one there. Every time I put it down, I can't see it again. Right, it's there. There. Gosh, that's a tricky one to see. That's a really dark patterned paper. There's a good tip for you. Do it on the reverse side, but make sure obviously you get them at the right angle. There we go. Oh, I'm sweating getting that right. Let's now make sure. Hooray! It does fit. Oh, I feel like Cinderella in the last shoe. Okay, and obviously you just need a part 4 here. So this was 7/8 of an inch. So 1 inch, and we just go 2 back from it. By 6 7/8. So 6 and 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. So next step is to glue all these together. I'm going to fast forward this because you obviously don't need to see me sit and just stand and glue these on. So off we go. Just make sure before you stick them, obviously your papers are up the right way. The amount of times I've done that and realised it's the wrong way around. Okay, so as you can see, I've finished that. I've actually made a mistake with my measurements here. That should have been that little bit less, okay? So it should have been 3/4 inch by 6 3/4. So I've messed up on that, but I've stuck it down. And actually it doesn't look too bad. It's fine, so I'm leaving it. Right, the next thing we need to do is attach these things together. So first of all, we're going to attach the spine. Okay, so our spine is going to go there. And then you're going to attach obviously the side parts because this is your pocket. So don't attach this part here. So we're going to run glue along here and along the bottom part. So all the way down the spine. Making sure that those edges have caught. And then just down the edge and along the bottom. There we go. So pop that on in the middle. There we go. And give that a real good push down, because obviously this is the main kind of part of your folio. And that feels lovely and thick now. It really feels like a nice chunky journal. So I'm just going to give myself a couple of minutes just to really make sure that's stuck down. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our piece for the centre. Now this part is actually going to have pockets on the front. On the original it's just like kind of decorative pieces. However, I think this lends itself to some nice little pocket shapes. So I'm hoping that's nicely glued down now. Just going to put that to one side to dry. Okay, so these are going to have little pockets that go on the back. So I'm going to cover the back with Kraft cardstock. So this measures, so each one of these little sections measures 2 3/4. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some more Kraft card. There we go. Okay, so the pocket is going to be 2 3/4. And I'm just trying to work out. So they need to be 2 3/4. So it's 2 5/8 by 2 1/8. So I'm going to put this in. This is A4 craft card, but I'm going to put it alongside down. So that needs to be 2 5/8. So 1 2 3 4 5. And then we need 4 of those, obviously, at, I'm just trying to think, that is that way up, isn't it? So that's going to fit in that way. And then they're going to measure up at 2 1/8. So 2 1/8. So 1, 2 1/8. 2, 2 1/8. 3, 2 1/8. 4. Yeah, that's not right. Right, so that's right that way. So 2 5/8 is right. And it should be 1 2 3 3/8. So make sure that's right. So 2 3/8. See, I do it wrong, so you get to do it right. That's my theory. And that is about right. So it is 2 5/8 by 2, and we said 3/8, didn't we? So 2 2 3/8. There we go. So let's do that again. It's fine having all these bits and pieces, because I will be able to use up on other projects. So 2 5/8 by 2 3/8. So 1 2 3. 2 1 2 3. And then 2 1 2 3. Okay. So, fingers crossed. Yep, they all now fit in there. Now, with these background pieces, I am going to ink around the edges of those because I am going to put some pattern paper on the front to make little pockets. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my acrylic block and some, this is tea dyed. I have just freshly inked this, so it's very juicy. I have to be careful not to overdo it. But it's so nice to have an ink pad that you actually pop your brush on and it's lovely. So there we go. Just popping around all the edges of these. And because it's recycled Kraft card, it absorbs that ink quite a lot. It's quite a thirsty card. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to stick those onto the back. So remember, they're slightly longer than they are higher. Oops. So making sure again you've got that little border. So even though this is tacky glue, it does take a couple of seconds just to take hold. It's always worthwhile just holding down your hand with a little bit. I see some people use paper clips or bulldog clips to keep these on. It's funny, when I'm crafting off camera, I tend to craft obviously a lot slower and careful than when I'm on camera. And I don't know if you, if any of you watch this, make videos of your own, you always get a little bit flustered sometimes when things go wrong and you don't want them to go wrong, but it's all good fun. It's lovely as a crafter to make these things and get the lovely comments from you lovely people that are watching me. So thank you for your continued support. There we go. So that's all of our backs done onto there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is bring in some of the patterned card again, and I'm going to create, and I'm going to have to double check my measurements for this because I was using my previous measurements plus some, so I think they're going to have to be re-measured. So basically I'm going to use this paper, which is the same as the one I've used on the background here. So I'll have background paper, foreground paper as well. And I'm going to obviously make that into a little pocket. I'm just going to pause my camera because I just need to check the measurements before I give you measurements wrong on this. So I've re-measured and it works out that the actual papers are going to be 3 1/8 across. And then because I want them as a pocket, it's just 1 1/4 inches up. So I've made them longer and a little bit wider because on all 4 of these I'm going to score at 1/4 inch just to give it that little pocket. So again, make sure these are the right way round, butt it up against the edge and just do 1/4 inch on 3 sides. And what that does when you put that on your page is it gives it that slight lift away from the page, because obviously these are quite small pockets. Just making sure I've got these the right way up. So your tags and things that you put inside them then will be able to get out a lot easier. So 1/4 inch on all 3 sides. Making sure obviously if it's directional paper, your bottom fold goes on the paper the right way up. There we go. So all 3 folds. So again, I'm going to fold those in. Now what will happen is where these cross at the bottom is where you need to do a little snip. And you do a corner snip across there. So if I just show you on the first one. So fold those 3 edges in, and then where you've got your cross section, that's going to here. So your line that way and your line that way. I'm just going to snip across the bottom of those 2. So that creates that corner, that kind of like mitered corner. Okay, so when you go to stick this down on your project, you will have no lumpy bits on the edges. Now, because these are little 1/4 inch folds, they are quite fiddly. So again, folds where the 2 edges meet, just snip across the both. And then again that way. Fold, 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 and then snip and snip. So pop that out of the way. So as you can see here, it does give you that kind of like little bit of room. Not a lot, just enough to put your little tag in. So fold those down, come in with your glue, and again I've got some tacky glue in here. I've just decanted it into a smaller precision nibbed bottle, which just makes it easier for more precise gluing. One of the best buys I've got was to buy some of these. They're great. So I always line up the bottom first and one corner, and then that should just line up with the rest. What I haven't done, oh nearly, is just done a little notch in there. Quickly get that back down again, because I wanted the little notch to make things easy to come in and out of. That was close. I'll do all of them while I remember. Here we go. So fold the sides over, glue, and then pop that down. So bottom and one edge. Will have a tendency to ping up. Okay. And then last one. So push that fold down. And glue. And then we have our 4 little pockets at the front. So I'm going to bring back in the base of the folio now. So this has dried really well now. So you've got your 2 pockets in there. And then we've got this part on the front here. It's going to stick. So what we do need to do now is to stick this on. Now this should be level with these marks at the front here, because obviously we lined that up and we measured that. So you're going to glue these 2 back panels. All of that back panel is going to need some glue. So along the edges, and then fill in with the middle bit. So I'm going to glue them, put the glue on both of them first, because it's easier, because it's obviously this way up. Nice and close to the edges, because obviously that's the part that will lift first. And then glue that down. Okay, so we're going to want to line this left hand square up to this left hand side here. Make sure it's lining up along the bottom as well as the side. and then that should then line up on that side as well. And obviously give that a nice big push, get that to take. There we go. So our folio now closes and opens up. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about tags to go inside of here. So again, I've got some craft card left over, so I'm just going to use this. Now this measures 3 inches, and I want my tag to kind of sit. I don't want it poking out the top because I think once this is closed, I personally don't want the tag out the top of there. So I'm going to line that tag up with the top of my part here, and I'm not going to go right down to the bottom. So I'm actually going to make that in there 6 inches, and I want 6 inches. Let's have a little look. This card measures 11.5. So I might just cut it in half. This is obviously an A4 piece of card, so I'm just going to fold that in half. Saves me measuring anything out. And then just cut along that line. There we go. So come in with my trusty little card. I'm going to do quite a large tab on here. So put the card up, cut, turn it over to do the side so it's the same one. And then same on the other card. There. And there we go. So these are 2 tags that go in either side of my pocket. I think I'm going to use, let's see what other papers we've got in here. Quite like the postcard look. I could use that, that'd be quite nice. Actually, I might use this because that'd be nice for journaling on as well. Perfect. So let's just measure this. So I know it's 3 inches across, so I'm just going to take off 1/4 inch. So 2 3/4 across. I write it down, otherwise I forget. And it's just a little less than 6. So I'm going to make that 5.5. Yeah. Decisions. Okay, so width was 2 3/4. I want to keep this side because I think that's nicer. So 2 3/4. And then 5.5. Oh, really chop that in half. There we go. So, like I always do, I'm just going to move that up to there where I'm going to sit it, and move this top layer up to the top so this meets here, and kind of get it central. There could be other ways to do this, is just how I do it. And then cut those bits there. So when you pull that down, that then gives the same border all the way around. And then same on this one. I'm going to actually have that on the other side, I think. So line it up at the top so the 2 tops are the same, and you've got the same border down the side. Making sure that's straight. And then just trim those parts off. And I'm just going to ink these up with my tea dye, just to give it that aged look. I did order some of those brushes, they did come, and I have been using them. I just find they need a lot of, probably as with this, it's been used so much, it's obviously absorbed a lot of ink into it. I think the brushes were quite dry to start off with, but I presume the more I use them, the better it will be. So I'm going to put these together before I put the hole punch in. And I'm going to pop an eyelet in there as well. So again, always down to the edges, make sure that's nice and gluey. Give me that wiggle room. There we go. And same for the second tag. If I ever use anything in my videos and I can find links to where I've bought them from, I will put them underneath. There we go. So again, making sure that's lined up and then give that a good push down. So I'm going to eyeball this, pop a little pencil mark on where I want my eyelets to be. So roughly in the middle, about there. Roughly in the middle, about there. And I'm going to choose, let's go with this nice copper colour for a change. So my good old-fashioned hole punch and setter. So pop the hole in, pop the eyelet through, and then just set that. There we go. And same with this one. Whoops. Put that in. There we go. So that's both of those done. And I'm going to find some ribbon. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my mess of a ribbon drawer. Anyone knows of any solutions of how to store this? I've done my lace now. I saw a lady do a video on how to store lace. She got some card and she kind of did a dip in it and wound it round. But there is just, whoa, so much lace in here. Let's have a little look. That's quite a nice ribbon. That's from Soon. It's obviously a brand. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to chop that in half. And then thread that through for my tags. I have had a tied up for my craft room and I've labelled everything with a Dymo, which is fabulous. All my tags, not tags, all my boxes and all my packaging has now got labels on it. So I could do a craft room tour to show you my working space. Quite a nice fun thing to do. There we go. So 2 large tags, and they are just going to pop inside there. So the ribbon pops out of the top, but I'm not too worried about that. I think that looks quite nice on the angle. And then obviously we need to pop some little tags in here. Now I do have in my tag box some of these little tags, which would be about right. Let's have a look. I think I've only got one left. So let's make some more, because obviously that's what we're here to do. So these measure 1.5 inches. So we could probably get away with actually having a 2-inch tag in there. Yep. So I could use the mistakes for the backgrounds. I've got those still. Do you remember when I cut them all wrong? So actually, I meant to do that because they're going to make my tags. There we go. So they are 2 inches by 2.5 inches. There we go. Happy accident again. Okay, so I'm just going to do a small little nick on these. Actually, I might do the medium-ish one. And because these are all the same, I can now use that tag to cut these ones, just making sure you don't cut the actual tag itself. It's nice and simple. Once you've got one done, you can fly through the rest of them. Leave that for the cleaner. There we go, and hole in the top. I might just use some more of that card. Find another one, it's the same. There we go. So these are obviously 2 inches wide. So I'm going to cut that at, whoop. So 2 inches, I'm going to cut that at 1 3/4. Just making sure that that's fine. And then that was 2.5, so that would be 2 1/4. So 2 1/4. Two 1/4. I say it out loud, I won't get it wrong. 2 1/4. So again, I'm just going to pop a bit of ink around the edge. Whoop. These are super dinky little tags. There we go. Nearly glue them on without trimming them. I might have made these a bit small. I'm just going to grab my little you need a very, very slight nick of those. I'm going to glue all the backs and then pop them on for speed. I'm I'm getting to the end of this glue now, so once I keep turning it back over again, it's taken ages to come down to the bottom. So I'm going to glue them all at once. Almost like a mass make. There we go. So again, just make sure you're lining up so all the edges have the same kind of border. And that was nice and quick doing it that way. And then just on the top one, I'm actually thinking rather than do that, I've got this Hessian kind of stuff. I might just do a little tab top instead. That. So if I measure these at 2 inches, and then rather than have holes in them, I can just pop these on instead. That does mean I'm going to need my glue gun, so I'm just going to get that out. I'm using a Sizzix glue gun. This has been one of the best glue guns I've had. It doesn't leak any glue. Brilliant little glue gun. So if you're in the market for buying a new one, I'd definitely go for one of those. Great. Okay, I'm going to put this to one side a minute just while the glue gun's heating up. I'm going to do that in a moment. Anyway. So I'm going to bring back in our folio, because obviously we've done all the inside now. We've got our little pockets ready, our tags are ready to go in. So we're going to have a look at the outside cover. Now I cut my outside cover the same as I did for the inside cover. So the Kraft stock is the same as the inside measurement. Okay, so I'm going to pop a piece of Kraft cardstock on the front and on the back. So I'm just bringing my glue. And this gives that nice white border around as well that we've got throughout the whole project. So there we go. So pop that onto the front, making sure it's all the same all the way round. And I'm just going to unfold that just so I can give a good push down on those edges. And while that's open, do the same for the back. There we go, so pop that on the back. Again, really making sure those edges are pushed down. And then I haven't cut the I've used the spine on the inside by mistake, didn't I? So the spine is 7/8. So just below that inch. By 6 7/8. So again, just one mark below. Ooh, that's close. Here we go. Now on the outside I'm going to use the same kind of papers that I used on the inside, and I think I'm going to use the stamp one. So I quite like that one. So again with the image, let me just look at my scribblings. So that needs to be 4.5 by 6.5. So I'm just going to check that one. So 4.5 by 6.5. By 6.5. Here we go. So I'm going to stick that one on there. This pattern paper is absolutely gorgeous, so I want to get another pack, so I'm hoping they will restock at some point. And I suppose a lot of places now are getting ready for Halloween and word. So make sure that's the right way up. There we go. And on the back I'm going to use the alternative paper, which was the map. Is that going to fit? No, it's not. So got me another piece. So 4.5 by 6.5. And that one's going to go on the back. So again, make sure your folio is the right way up. Just double check your map's the right way up before you stick. Oh, getting low on glue. There we go. So back cover with that lovely map on. I really like doing travel things. I've got quite a few travel things going at the moment. Just my kind of theme at the moment, I suppose. I'm just going to lay that flat to give that a good push down. Okay, let's go back to our tags just while that's drying. So we've got our little pieces cut. Have I got one? No, we haven't. One missing there. And our 4 tags. So obviously with hot glue we always have to work quite quickly. So smidge across the front, put that down, and then smidge across the back. There we go. And same with the front. This is where you need asbestos fingers. And obviously give that out loop at the top. That little tab. I quite like the look of that. So hot glue. And obviously knowing that hot glue is going to get into those fibres and really stay on. That's great to know. This is where you get all the stringy bits on your fingers. And there we go. So there's our little tags. for our pockets. Oh, I love it. Super cute. Ready to be journaled on. Front cover, back cover. Now, with the front cover, I was thinking about putting a doily on the front because I've got this lovely traveller stamp that says travel around the world, first class journey, and that actually fits really well inside there. Yesterday I spent some time coffee dyeing some paper. I got music paper and just ordinary paper, so I'm going to just take a piece of that and I'm just going to stamp that image onto some coffee dye paper and then just cut round it to go on the front of my journal. These stamps, I don't know where they, well, I know where they came from. They came from my local craft shop having a sale, and these have all been used in a lesson. So they'd been popped into old CD cases and they were selling them off for £1. This came with some lovely, lovely, lovely stamps. Now, pop that down. Give that a good push. And there we go. That's beautiful. So I'm just going to cut around this. I've been spending some time fussy cutting some downloads. It's quite relaxing sitting, listening to some music or watching some TV, doing some fussy cuts. There we go. Let's move that out of the way. So my doily hasn't been coloured or anything, so I think the contrast between that and that will then be quite nice. So I'm just going to pop some wet glue on the back. And I'm not going to stick down the edge pieces. I think that will look quite nice because it will just kind of like lift away from the card. So just putting glue in the middle of that doily. Lining that up on my page. And then just gluing this down as well. Because it's only copier paper, I can't lift it with pads or anything. There we go. Love that. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put do I put a closure on it? I think not. I was going to put a closure on here, but to be fair, it does actually sit closed. I don't think it actually needs a closure on it. I think if I trying to get through all this might make it, yeah, it'd be hard work to get through all those layers. Oh, just need to put something on the spine there. I'm going to actually choose some of this just to give a contrast. So this needs to be 3/4 of an inch. I'm actually going to have that so I can have the word folio on it. So 3/4 of an inch. I've got bits of glue all over my fingers. By 6 3/4. So I'm just going to cut that bit there. Then have this at 6. 3/4. There we go. So that's giving that nice there. There we go. So all of the papers tie in throughout the folio. And there we have our finished product. Why is that coming out of there? I don't think that's glued at the bottom. So there we go. Just going to bring my camera out just a little bit. So our around the world folio cover, opening up. I mean, you can obviously put a lot more stuff in here than I have. So I've got 2 large journaling cards there, our tiny little 4 mini ones at the front, and then our closure at the back. Quite pleased with that, really. So that is our around the world folio, little travel journal again. I hope you enjoyed watching me make this. Have a go yourself. Please like and leave a comment if you'd like to, and please subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends all about Vintage Lace Journal, and let's see if we can get this community growing. Love you lots. Bye.